Welcome back. We're back with Lisa Boothe and Congressman Matt Gaetz, who has a new book out, Firebrand, Dispatches from the Front Lines of the MAGA Revolution. So, Matt, I bought this book as an author myself. I think it's very important to support fellow authors. I'm afraid it's not arriving till Tuesday. Then your team tried to send me one, and that didn't get here either. Something to do with the coronavirus, probably the shutdown in California. Gavin Newsom's shutdown stopped it. So I haven't read the book. Our audience knows you very well from being on the show as our regular guest. What's in the book? Why should they read this book? Why should they go out and buy it?
I lay bare the corruption of Washington, D.C., where committee assignments and leadership positions are bought and sold for money. It's one of the reasons why I'm the only Republican in Congress who doesn't accept PAC contributions. But I want to define the next generation of populist conservative ideas. It means focusing on China, not trying to build democracies out of blood and sand and Arab militias in the Middle East. It means standing against cancel culture and big tech. And it means realigning our politics under the opportunity we have with this great president to put the American people first. When Donald Trump's no longer president 4 years from now, I'm not going back to the Romneys or the Bushes or the Cheneys. I think we have to go forward, and that means ensuring that we put our people first. We don't invade everywhere. We don't invite everyone to cross our borders illegally, and we don't impoverish every town in our great country with trade deals that benefit multinational corporations at the expense of our people. That's my argument, and I hope people check it out in the book.
Matt, first of all, your reactions to the president's nomination and thoughts on the process as we move forward.
This was a very strong rollout by the White House. The imagery, the support for the incandescent intellect of Judge Barrett has been across the spectrum. I was one of the members of the House Judiciary Committee who had the responsibility of questioning Noah Feldman. I can tell you he's no sympathizer to conservatives, but when he talked about Judge Barrett, he also referenced how challenging it would be for Democrats to take her on intellectually. And I think it's an interesting point. Kamala Harris will have to go a full 30-minute round with Judge Barrett, and even liberal Professor Feldman said that if anyone tried to post up intellectually on Judge Barrett, that they would in fact be facing some strong headwinds. It is unfortunate that this has devolved into personal attacks. A critical race theory purveyor, Ibram Kendry, said recently that she was engaged in white colonialism because of the love and compassion and care that she's shown to the members of her family from Haiti. And I think that that shows how desperate the left is to try to derail her, because they figure if they derail her, then it'll be very challenging for the president to fill the seat. You know, if they derailed Kavanaugh or Gorsuch, the president probably would have just nominated somebody else they didn't like. But here, I think they're going to go for the jugular, and it could really backfire because she is a remarkable candidate.
But Matt, very quickly, question to you on health care, because it looks like the Democrats are really kind of zeroing in on that for their kind of objection, and they want to make the Affordable Care Act ruling that's coming, hearing that's coming up after the election, the centerpiece of their attack on this nomination. What's the best response from the Republicans, do you think?
I think that we are at our best when we focus on the quality of the individual, the jurisprudence that can be impacted by reshaping the court in a manner that will be, I think, in line with the values that the president put out on the campaign trail. And he wants Judge Barrett to be a persuasive force, whether it's on health care or any other issue on the court. And, you know, when I think about her and her personal background, I think about the story of her advocating for a blind student at Notre Dame Law School. When that student wasn't getting the services that were needed, Judge Barrett, as a professor, said, "This isn't your problem, this is my problem." And so on issues like healthcare, where empathy is required, I think Judge Barrett passes the test as someone who's willing to advocate for people strongly and will be a persuasive force on the court.
Matt, this is what I was thinking when I watched him talk like that. And as Lisa says, when he won't do, you know, he says that the election has to be the place where we decide on the Supreme Court, yet he won't give us the information about how to make that decision. And then when he talks like this, I just think he's so weak. It's obviously he's got these kids around him who are sort of writing these speeches. I used to do that job. I know what it's like. You've got people with good judgment, the actual candidate, who says, "I'm sorry, that's just a bit too much. I can't say that. It's too inflammatory." But he doesn't have any ability to stand up to them. He just recites this inflammatory nonsense. He won't put out his list. He's just weak.
The only thing Joe Biden's been able to unite is the left with the far left. And the reason the woke-topians are willing to go on with the Biden candidacy is because they're pretty certain it'll be the weekend at Bernie's presidency, where they'll be able to just roll over him with the types of individuals that you see engaged in this critical race theory nonsense and the whole California Democratic machine that has propped up Kamala Harris for her entire political career. It is instructive to see how Biden is speaking when we think about the debates that are coming up. I do not want to see these presidential debates just devolving into two people in their 70s accusing each other and blaming each other for the worst parts of the status quo. President Trump is at his best when he shows vision, when he talks about the better lives that Americans can lead as a consequence of the policies that we've put in place, with rising wages and a greater sense of economic nationalism and a love of country. I think that vision will cut through this type of divisive rhetoric that we've seen from Biden that is quite obviously written, produced, and directed by others. My worry, as I said in my convention remarks, is that we could lose the country to the woke-topians and Joe Biden might not even notice.
There we are, good old Swamp Watch. Welcome back. Last week, the Senate Homeland Security and Finance Committees released their report on Hunter Biden's role in Ukraine with corrupt gas company Burisma. Our friend Kim Strassel put it best in the Wall Street Journal this week. The candidate's son was cashing in. Biden was warned and did nothing. Will this kind of influence peddling be the norm in a Biden presidency? We're back with Matt Gaetz and Lisa Boothe. Matt, this is exactly what you're talking about, the swamp. Biden is the swamp. And so these questions about Hunter Biden, which the left try and dismiss as being sort of not relevant and why are you even talking about it, it's central in terms of the change that people wanted in 2016 and want to see continue.
Well, the contrast is clear. My good friends Eric and Don Trump stopped doing international business deals when their father was elected to national office. Hunter Biden started doing international business deals when his father was elected to national office. And when Joe Biden was questioned about this, his answer was, well, it was all fine, but they promised they'll never do it again, based on the propensity for Hunter Biden to really utilize his father's position for his own economic gain. That is precisely the type of corruption that voters will reject, and I think this continues to be an issue that the president's going to harp on. Where's Hunter? It's a question you might hear in the debate on Tuesday.